Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Anna, and you're listening to Big Facts.
What's that? And it's big fact. What's that? And it's big fact. What's that? And it's big fact. Big ones.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Big Facts on Big Facts Friday, where my passion for Christ and culture collide. If you've not already, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you will find all of my content and podcast episodes. You can also check out all of my previous episodes as well. Today, I want to talk about an issue that has come up in our society that has really been heartbreaking to hear about and watch. It has to do with the disturbing issues that surface online of the abuse of power and the physical abuse and violence of Haitian individuals seeking asylum and safety. These pictures surfaced of U.S. Border Patrol agents mounted on their horses with whips in their hands. These U.S. Border Patrol agents were using tactics of physical abuse and violence, as there's pictures of them pulling on the shirts of individuals, pushing individuals back. And then also I look at it and see intimidation through the use of this 2,000-pound animal that they're mounted on, whips in their hands, and them towering over these Haitian migrants. These images circulating on the internet drew comparison to pictures during the enslavement of Black people and how our country has a long history, yes, a very long history of anti-Black violence and mistreatment of Black people. What is happening to these Haitian individuals seeking safety and refuge is absolutely evil and, in my opinion, anti-God. Haiti, for some history, as I was looking at what is going on in Haiti, Haiti is one of the world's poorest countries. In 2010, they experienced an earthquake that many within that country had not recovered from. And research showed me that they had lost upwards near 200,000 Haitian citizens from that earthquake. They have experienced political and governmental corruption. And so when you think about Haitian individuals seeking asylum, leaving their country, trying to get to the U.S., and then them being mistreated at the border, literally leaving a country that is poor, is impoverished, leaving a country where they've dealt with corruption, where they've dealt with grief and law and just tremendous loss and mistreatment, leaving that country, seeking asylum and safety and refuge in a new country, only to be met with mistreatment at the border. And here at the border, they aren't being provided with enough food. We're still in a pandemic, and I just see pictures circulating of them being closely connected with tens of thousands of people without masks on. So they're not getting enough food. They don't have the proper hygiene and sanitation needs. Those needs are not being met. Like, when I look at this, I see the impact of these fearfully, beautifully, and wonderfully God-created human beings living in dehumanizing conditions and being violently treated. And like I said, it is downright evil and anti-God. And when we look at these pictures, yes, I think that our hearts should be broken, but I also think we have to get to a place where we are sick and tired of seeing those who are most vulnerable and marginalized in our country continue to be dehumanized and mistreated and abused time and time and time and time again. We have to stop saying that the system is broken. It's not broken. I love when I see this quote around, the system is not broken. It was built to function this way, which means that the racism, the structural barriers that are impacting Black folks and other persons of color in the different systems, in the healthcare systems, in the food systems, in the housing systems, in the employment, educational, criminal justice system, it needs to be shut down. It needs to be abolished, and it needs to be reformed. The system is not broken, but the system needs to be abolished. After these pictures circulated online about what was going on and what was happening, Bernice King, the daughter of the late Martin Luther King Jr. tweeted out that the United States treats people the way it wants to, and that treatment has been heavily contingent on color and class for hundreds of years. And look, to that I say big facts, big facts, big facts. Because it ain't nothing but the truth. Bernice King's out here spitting big facts because the mistreatment of these Haitian migrants is connected to the long history of anti-Black violence and mistreatment within the U.S. and a system that grants value, dignity, and worth based on the color of your skin and or your economic class. But that has to change. We need to be committed to being a people that see and value the humanity of all individuals. Not just seeing and valuing the humanity of those we think belong or fit in, or those we believe have something to offer to society. The Haitian asylum seekers are humans, and they need to be treated and compassionately cared for as such. As a Christian, like I said, culture and Christ collide here on this podcast platform. And so one of the scripture passages that I've really been meditating on really for like the past few months is Exodus 3. It's when God meets Moses through the burning bush. And in verse 7, God tells Moses to go and tell the Israelites. So the Israelites were those that were being enslaved. They were marginalized. They were being mistreated. They were being abused. They were being dehumanized. They were being forgotten about by man, ignored by Pharaoh and the Egyptians, forced to work and be enslaved in conditions that were deplorable. He says to Moses, go and tell the Israelites this. I have seen their oppression. I have heard the cries of distress because of the harsh treatment of the Egyptians, and I know of their suffering. I have seen their oppression. I have heard their cries of distress, and I know of their suffering. God saw, God heard, and God knows. Then he says to Moses, I have come to rescue them from under the power, under the authority, or under the oppression of the Egyptians. So the oppression, the cries of distress, and the suffering of the Israelites did not go unnoticed to God. They were not far from God's ears or his eyesight. No, but like I said, God saw, God heard, and God knew. And what I just believe is that the same God that saw the oppression of the Israelites sees the oppression of the Haitian asylum seekers. The same God that heard the cries of distress of the Israelites because of the harsh treatment of the Egyptians hears the cries of distress of these Haitian individuals at the border who are living under bridges and those being subjected back to the country, those living in deplorable conditions, those being dehumanized, those up against anti-Black violence, that God hears their cries. And then I believe that the same God that was aware of the suffering of the Israelites is the same God who is aware of the current suffering of the Haitians who have been separated from their families without adequate food and sanitary need, without an adequate and safe place to lay their head, that God sees them, that God hears them, and that God knows all about their suffering, that God has not missed them. And because God has not missed them, me as a Christian, I can't miss them either. And so when it comes to those marginalized and vulnerable in this world, I want to be able to see the oppression that they are facing. I want to be able to hear the cries of those that are in distress. I want to be aware of the suffering that they are up against. I don't want to turn a blind eye and a blind ear or closed ear to the pain and suffering of others, but I want to lean in. I want to pray, and I want to bring awareness, and I want to let them know that they are not forgotten. And I don't want us. And so when I say us, I say Christians, but I also really want to invite non-Christians to take a hold of an opportunity to advocate for justice, to defend the defenseless, and to lean into God's concern and compassion for those that are in distress. And so I'll leave you with this. This is a song that I used to love growing up. And immediately when I was thinking about this passage in Exodus 3 and thinking about those that are coming from Haiti, what they're experiencing, those that are still in Haiti, what they're experiencing, I thought of this song from Brandon Heath, and it says this: God, give me your eyes for just 1 second. Give me your eyes so I can see everything that I keep missing. Give me your love for humanity. Give me your arms for the brokenhearted, the ones that are far beyond my reach. Give me your heart for the ones forgotten. Give me your eyes so I can see. God sees, God hears, and God knows. And I want to lean in to that too. Until next time, y'all. Peace.